We're all set? Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August 7th Select Board meeting. I'm John Martin, Francine Tishman, Charlie Kanicki, and Rini Groden. We're being televised live and recorded. If you can join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So we have some appointments for election officers for the election coming up September 4th. Since it's a dual election, Janine has asked us to appoint 5 more people. First one's Robert Burnett, Karen Bausch, Mary Robinson, Kathy Thibodeau, and Elizabeth Blanchette. This is just till December 31st, 2018. We need a motion to appoint these folks.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion?
I just have a question. Why only until the 31st of this year?
Because we're having a dual election, we have to have 2 separate check-in tables, 2 separate check-out tables. So we basically need to have 16 people because we have the morning crew and the afternoon crew. Because the election is open the polls are open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
I was just wondering why not have a longer term than just to the end of the year?
All
Is that all of them are only 1 year?
All election officers, like in December, you'll reappoint everybody again,
okay.
or almost for the following
It
calendar
cycles on
year.
an annual
Okay.
basis. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
So you'll go ahead after the vote and you'll get them in to swear them in.
Yes, I also need, I think like 5 more. So if anyone knows of anyone who would be interested
You're
in.
looking for 5 more for this election, September 4th. Is it a half a day, a full day? What are you looking for so people can?
Half a day, either from 7 to 1 or 1 to 8, but then we have to count the votes, so it'll be later than 8.
Yeah.
Hopefully 8:30.
There's a little training involved for
Yes.
anybody, right?
Yes.
Okay, so anybody interested, come see or call Janine.
Yep.
Can you just clarify, just because of the last election, given the vote counting, when you say count the votes, the machine's going to do the vote
Oh,
count? Yeah.
absolutely. But we do have, but there is a compartment where if there are write-ins, we have to hand count those. But
Right.
just for an update, the company came in a couple weeks ago and they replaced the whole reader part, and we're ready to go.
And they also left a backup.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so that's good.
Because I expressed some concern, because the state primary ballot is the legal size, and our ballot is the letter size. So, but they said should be no problem.
So we're going to run 2 machines or just
No,
one?
just one.
One?
Yeah, but I will test both in case we have to use the other.
And we hope we don't.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Hearings. Okay, we're going to open a public hearing for Eversource and Verizon New England, a poll hearing to relocate 2 jointly owned poles. The first is tag 19/95 to be moved approximately 12 feet easterly of existing location and 45 feet northerly of intersection of College Highway and Glendale Road. Second pole is tag 19/88 to be moved approximately 72 feet southerly of existing location and 13 feet westerly of Glendale Road. Who do we have here? Just identify
Yeah,
yourself.
Tyler Nelson Arrows with Eversource.
What was the first name?
Tyler, just representing Eversource.
Great.
The project's just the Mass DOT winding of the road. The pole relocations, they're regular. One's just moving back off the road, and the other is moving the span because it would go further encroaching on to somebody else's, into their yard. So we're moving it onto a split, where the lot, the property line meets with the next lot. So that way it doesn't intrude too much into one individual's yard.
Is there anybody here that's going to affect, the pole movement's going to affect?
Sure. Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the job I'm in.
Yeah.
All the butters have been notified?
They're all
Yes.
notified, right, Ed? Yeah.
Yeah, I see.
And since nobody's here, I'm assuming that they don't have any concerns with it.
Full 87 staying in the same location?
Correct.
Any idea when that's going to start?
I do not. Rob Davis would be a good point of contact within our company at least. But Mass DOT is the main
You should probably
proponent.
turn around to the microphone.
Oh, sorry.
Nobody can hear you.
Rob Davis would be the one to contact, at least through our company. But from my understanding, Mass DOT is the one, really, they're the main proponent towards the project.
Yeah. I was just wondering if anybody...
Okay, if you're going to continue talking, come on up, yeah.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if there's any start date for the
Introduce yourself.
project?
Can you introduce yourself?
Oh, yeah, Pete Fern, 12 Glendale Road.
Thanks.
I'm just wondering if there's any idea when the start date is going to be to start the reconstruction?
I guess behind you, he's got to answer. I guess
Well, I
he
mean
said
about the
no
road
at this-
itself.
Mass
I
DOT has to
haven't
bid the
heard.
project,
Have you
which
heard?
they're expecting to do this fall.
This fall, though, right?
This fall?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
That's the bidding this fall,
Right.
I thought the bids went out in May.
not to my knowledge.
Maybe we can follow up and if we can get a date, we'll
Yeah,
bring it up at the next.
just curious, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good
thank you.
question. Thank you. Any other questions for the rep or amongst ourselves? Do we need a vote on this, Ed?
Yeah, you need a motion to close the public hearing, and then you'll need
Yeah.
a
move to
motion
close the
to
public hearing.
approve the
Okay.
two pole movements.
We've got a motion to close the public hearing, a second?
Now, second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we need a motion to accept the move of the two poles.
I move the authorization of Eversource and Verizon to New England to move these poles as described.
Do we have a second?
Second it?
Discussion at all? All in favor?
aye.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, appreciate it.
Janine, do you have the original paperwork for the?
Yep.
Okay.
Should he wait so he can get a signed copy?
You want to hold on, you gonna give him a copy here, Ed?
Janine.
I can mail it to you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Janine's got to be here when we sign it so she can notarize our signatures. This looks like it's just a clerk of selectmen, is that accurate on here?
I think so. Yes.
Then the Board of Selectmen down here. Can I borrow your pen? Can I borrow your pen? Thanks. Okay, you got two places to sign them. Okay, do you want to start your report while we're signing that?
See, first of all, I participated in a walk on the 111 Glendale Road parcel this morning with about 10 other individuals. The purpose of the walk was to meet with Melissa Cryan, Grants Program Supervisor from the state. Was here to view the property firsthand as a part of our application for the land grant. And while it was warm out there, it was a beautiful walk. The AC compressor, which serves the Accounting and Veterans and Conservation Office on the second floor at Town Hall, has been repaired for the leak it developed in the lines, so that should be all set now. And on Thursday, August 2nd, I attended a seminar sponsored by the town of South Hadley concerning the recent Janus Supreme Court ruling on agency fees for municipal employees. The seminar was very informative and helpful. This decision will place more responsibility on our HR systems, as we will now have to ensure that if our employees agree to have either union dues or agency fees deducted from their wages, that they have agreed to it by their own free will and without coercion. I will be doing further research on this subject going forward. And then upcoming, the next Board of Selectmen meeting is Tuesday, August 21st at 6 p.m. Special town election is Tuesday, September 4th in Town Hall from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's a department heads meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, August 8th at 10 a.m. And the September Select Board meetings are to be determined, and I don't know if you want to do that tonight, since actually I think the first one that would probably fall on would be September 4th, the day of the election, so I don't know if you still want to meet on that date or alternate your schedule.
A question on the Janus ruling. Is there a date on there that this has to be implemented, or?
July 1st, 2018.
They always give us plenty of time. So we want to pick some meetings for September while we're there? Is anybody interested in having a meeting on the night of the election?
I think that's cumbersome. I'd prefer it to be the 5th.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. What,
There's a Community Preservation Committee meeting on the 5th.
there's a planning board meeting that night, too.
3rd?
Third or this, that's Labor Day, right?
Oh, well, that don't work.
Community Preservation is also on the 5th.
How about the 6th? Or do you want to go the next week?
The following week.
Which?
The 6th is fine, or the following week is fine.
Okay, the 6th or the following week? What are you two?
Let's see. Yeah, maybe the 6th.
Good for you?
6th is fine.
Okay, Ed, we're going to do the 6th at 6.
Mhm.
And then that'll make it the 18th, which falls right back into our schedule. And then again on, okay, that's September.
Thank you.
Thank you. Selectmen, anybody have anything except for the Glendale Road? I'd like to keep all that together if we can under old business. Francine?
Yeah, I attended the Finance Committee meeting last night. There were 4 committee members present. They elected officers, and they made some liaison assignments to committees, but that's not completed yet. I think they'll finish it up once they have a better understanding of the obligations and so forth that go along with that, probably by their next meeting. They caught up on all of the outstanding PCFs, so I think we're good to go.
Can you tell us who the chair and vice chair are?
The chair is Jonathan Labrie, and the vice chair is Sharon Solikowski.
Thank you. Anything else?
No?
Rini?
Yep, Council of Aging met, just reminded everybody that September 15th is the Go for Life. It's an intergenerational walk. It's a mile. The police are going to assist in having a safe walk There'll be refreshments. There's a free raffle for a Fitbit. It's going to be a great community event. It's 9:30 on the 15th. And then the walk starts at 10, so everybody needs to pre-register so we have enough notice who's coming. They also reviewed a draft budget. If you remember, the director's salary was transferred over to the operational budget, which freed up the formula grant, which is supposed to be for senior programming. And so they've come up with a draft budget for increasing programming. And so people have suggestions on additional programming. I know that they're getting a theater program going, and they've also had an increase in the number of trips that they do. Conservation met last night. They elected officers, discussed forest plan, and potentially getting going with doing some forest work on conservation lands. And they also were questioning about the roof on the Zipta farm. Ed, do you know if that's gone out to bid yet?
No, it has not.
Okay, because that would be good, only because I think there's some concerns about the safety and also doing it before bad weather, like winter.
Yeah, they asked if they could get a meeting with an individual that's done some work on the barn before and familiar with it because of some of the other side work besides the roof.
Right.
Yeah,
Right,
which I'll be setting up for them.
okay, thanks. Open space we'll talk about later, and then community preservation, there was a meeting last week. As people may be aware, affordable housing is one of the pockets of money, and we haven't really been able to move too far forward on affordable housing. So one of the things that the community preservation approved is some administrative funds to be able to pull together builders, planning board, board of health, a group of people in town to have a discussion about what are some of the barriers, what are the ways that we could move forward on affordable housing. So that'll be a gathering that'll be planned for probably late September or October.
Getting back to the COA, they reorganize, who do they elect chair and vice chair?
Not in this last meeting anyway.
Oh, okay,
They may have done it beforehand. Janet Kane is still the chair.
okay,
I think Liz Plouffe is vice chair, and Lori Loisel is secretary.
okay, thanks.
And
Anything else?
Josie's the
And
treasurer.
Josie's the treasurer, right.
Okay,
And in the conservation, Marla is chair, Charlotte's vice chair, Art is treasurer, and I think they're doing some rotation of the minutes,
Okay.
clerk.
okay. Anything else?
No, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. Charlie?
Capital Committee met a couple of weeks ago, reorganized. Roger Ball's chair, I'm vice chair. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm secretary now. I don't remember who the vice chair is.
Question on the Capital Improvement Committee and the subcommittee to look at the land on College Highway, talk to the owner. Where is that?
That's already been voted on, approved, and everything else.
No, we have a committee, but you're supposed to meet, get the group
Public
together.
safety.
Oh, you mean the Public Safety
Public
Committee?
safety, yes.
Right.
With
The
the-
Public Safety Committee, I spoke to Mr. Labrie, and he has not had any time scheduled because it's summer months and they got vacations and other things going on.
Okay. So that's,
But that's the
In
Public
the
Safety
pipeline?
Committee, that's not the Capital
no,
Committee.
I'm saying public safety.
All right.
But you're also a subcommittee of the board and a subcommittee of the Public Safety Committee. We're supposed to meet with
Right.
Mr.
Yeah,
Labrie.
so all that's waiting until, I guess, all the vacations are used up.
Okay, so you're going to follow up on that?
And I think Francine will be included.
Yeah,
on
and
that.
there was one other from a couple of meetings back. We talked about kind of reactivating the Master Plan Implementation Committee.
Yeah, I've got that, yeah. Go ahead.
No, a question about where are we with that?
My understanding, you were going to...
I'm going to contact the individuals that were originally assigned and see if they're still interested.
And if
So-
not...
And then we'll have to appoint new individuals.
So, I guess maybe we email the committees that should be involved, the chair of each committee, saying that we want to resurrect it and that they should appoint one person from each committee to the MPI committee. And if it's the same person, that's fine,
Right.
but if it's not,
Could do it that way, too.
Yeah, that's a good idea, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that way we'll have the chair of each committee joining in.
And if there were any additional members, I'm just thinking that would be good in case there's a lot of change, it would be good to have some people who may have been part of the original plan too.
Yep.
So if other people are interested, they could also step up, I would imagine.
There was a group of at-large people that were
Yeah.
appointed to that.
Yeah, and we need some at-large
I'll
people.
take care of that.
But I think if we can at least get this group together at the first meeting, then we can go from there. Okay, thanks, Ed.
You're welcome.
Charlie?
That's it.
Okay. Okay, old business. 111 Glendale Road, right of first refusal. So this will probably take a few minutes. Last Friday, and Rini and Ed and Janet, correct me if I'm wrong, we met with Attorney Evans in Northampton, Janet Brown, Rini, Ed, and myself to go over the draft of the purchase and sale agreement for 111 Glendale. We kind of worked out the details there, the purchase and sale as well as an amendment, and that Ed took it and gave it to us tonight. But Attorney Evans worked with Attorney Zadonis Kemp, and we have a final purchase and sale agreement and an amendment here, and it's been signed by 2 of the 3 sellers. One of them is out of town, so it'll be sent via e-signature sometimes later. But we're going to hopefully sign this today and get it all set, and Attorney Evans is going to file in the Registry of Deeds tomorrow the right of first refusal, and that's got to be done by tomorrow under the 120-day. And as part of the amendment, the sellers are agreeable to give us an extension of time if we need it for the closing because of the grant, which we won't know till December, so the closing probably won't be till January or February. And they're also agreeable to speaking with us about maybe taking the cost of it and spreading it out over a longer period of time. Those are to be determined as we go along. So that was the highlight. So Rini, you want to add anything else to that?
No, I think that covers it. I think it's a standard purchase and sale, and the decision was made to actually have an amendment that would have the closing up until the 28th of February 2019, and the payment a year from there,
Right.
so that would help us to not hold the deed in the event that we get the grant.
So that's good. So we have that. We're going to need a motion in a minute, but I think the first thing is, and I wasn't there because I was on vacation, but the town meeting was a spectacular turnout. So we want to thank everybody that came to that town meeting and the folks that worked behind the scenes to bring those people there. So thanks everyone out there, the committee. Rini, you're on that, so thank you very much for your work.
Thank you to the Community Preservation Committee also, who brought it in front of the voters. It was
Absolutely.
a
And all
lot of support for that.
Yeah, all the committees that support it. I think it's a great thing, and it's moving forward. We're almost there, so I think that's a great thing.
So do you want, I'll make a motion then to
If you want to make a motion to sign the
purchase and
Purchase.
sale for the purchase of 111 Glendale Road and the amendment with the 2 conditions that we're putting in, on behalf of our attorney, putting in front of the owners.
do we have a second for discussion?
I'll second.
Okay. Does anybody, I don't know if everybody's had the chance to read it in detail. Does anybody have any questions before we take a vote on what it says or any concerns? I know Rini,
Council's reviewed it.
yeah, town council, oh, well, not town council, Richard Evans, our
Special counsel.
special
for the-
counsel, yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
an attorney for us reviewed it.
Correct.
That's what I want to hear.
He reviewed it and went back and forth with the seller's attorney.
That, I believe that was removed, the comment on there. It was kind of standard language, and it said, from the original purchase and sale with the original buyer, it said single homes.
Yeah, there was a couple things that were removed
Yeah,
that,
I think that was one of the things that was removed.
Yes, it was.
Okay, thanks.
there was certain, rights of inspections and all that stuff that didn't pertain, like 10 days and all that, so. Just let me know when you're comfortable, all of you, and I'll take the vote.
I'm fine.
You doing okay? Okay, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Want to start signing down there, too?
Is that the original you want to sign?
These are the originals right here.
What's he got?
Janine gave me these, the originals, huh? What was it? look original.
So this one's the purchase and sale, and this one is the amendment to accept. So sign them and date them, please.
Where are your pen, John? Yeah. Okay, while we're doing that, Francine, do you want to just go over the warrants? I got one in my bag, I was just too lazy, thank you.
Okay. All right, we have, we're moving down to item 11, warrant PD 19-4 for $41,142.08. We have warrant P 19-4 for $246,199.13. Warrant PD 19-4A for $155,446.98. And W 19-5 for $1,350,917.57.
So there's no vote needed on those. Those are already signed, so, thank you. So, going back up to old business, Select Board Committee assignments, and I asked that to be put on there, and more so with me than anybody. I'm on the Planning Committee, which Jim is also a member of the Planning Committee, so it seems like it's duplicate. Now that he's going to be out maybe a couple of weeks, I can hold on to that. But the other committees I'm on don't meet that often. So if there's anybody that has a committee that they want to move along to me, I'm more than happy to do that, or if somebody has a load. So,
Can we think about it, or do you want an answer
absolutely.
tonight?
No,
Okay.
you can think about it and give me the best one that you want. So I just wanted to bring it up
Thank
because,
you for offering to think
Yeah.
about it.
yeah, no problem. Just let me know and we can go from there. Okay, Select Board members authorized to sign warrants, a clarification. My memory, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the chair, the vice chair, and the clerk. Is that what you're remembering, Ed, or no?
That's what I'm remembering. However, the new statute actually calls for one person to be the primary and one individual to be a backup.
Okay,
And that the backup is, the Board of Selectmen have to decide on a practice or policy of when the backup is utilized.
Okay.
It's supposed to be when the primary is not available.
correct.
And probably what I would suggest is, once you have chosen one primary individual to sign them and a backup individual, that if at any particular time the primary individual is not going to be available for vacation, travel, out of town, what have you, that the primary individual, I contact myself and let me know for the period of time they won't be available, and I would contact, and I would suggest this all be via voice, I would contact the town accountant and the treasurer collector and notify them, as well as the backup individual, of who that contact would be. And I would probably also recommend that when either the town accountant or the collector treasurer's office is looking for someone to sign, whether it's payable warrants or payroll warrants, that the contact with the appropriate individual, either the primary or the backup, also be via voice and telephone, rather than email or some other methodology.
Okay.
Just in case the individual can't get to their emails or what have you.
I was going to say, technology-wise, it seems Messenger is easier, texting, but, you know, we can go ahead. So a question first, what's the frequency of the warrants being signed? You do them now, Francine.
I can do 2, 3 a week.
And do they need to always be signed during the day, during normal business hours?
Well, while the offices are open, yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so that limits some. Let me ask you a question before we throw your name up there again. Is this working for you?
Yeah, it's been fine. I get a call, I live close. I'm here for lots of other reasons during the day, so
Okay.
we manage to connect. It's not been a problem.
So unless somebody else objects, I would say we vote to have her stay there if you're
Yeah.
okay with it.
I'm fine.
I'll make a motion to have Francine be the
Yeah.
primary person to sign warrants.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, we already had a practice run when I was on vacation, and I let Charlie volunteer to sign in my absence, and I'm not sure if I notified you. I may have copied you on my email, but I do like to do that. You and the treasurer and the accountant should know. So I'll be happy to do it by voice and email.
I think we can firm up the policy versus the procedure,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay,
Okay, so you're okay with it?
I'm fine.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and now for a secondary, somebody feel comfortable with being a secondary? Looking to my
Are
right.
you able to do it, or are you not as available?
During the day.
During the day,
I mean,
okay.
I can stop in early, or I can stop in
Yeah.
after work.
Mhm.
So, are you here early, Ed?
Not usually till 8:30. I operate on the other end of the spectrum. I might be here at 10 or 11, but
If it's 3 times a week, I mean, I could get out of work and come here for that, but 3 times a week's gonna be tough.
It's only when Francine's not able to do it, though.
Oh, okay. I mean, I'd be glad to try it if you want to keep me
Yeah,
on
I
that.
mean, it's only
I'm fine with that.
when I wouldn't be available, which is infrequent at this point.
Okay, so if you want to put me on there, just,
All right, I'll
somebody
make a motion to assign John as the alternate,
okay?
backup. And you said we have to come up with circumstances when the primary person wouldn't, and it's primarily like not available, right?
Yeah,
Is there a lot
It's-
more to it?
Let me just grab the second so we can have a discussion.
Oh, sure.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, is that just saying that they're not available? Is there anything more to it than that?
well, other than the actual practice of the notification and how it's done.
So how about if you
Oh, I
just
see, yeah, I see what you mean.
work out a little procedure, if you will, and let us know?
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, we all use text and emails, phone call. I guess that's kind of strange to people nowadays, but if, you know,
You can pick up text as easy or faster than a phone call.
yeah,
Phone calls get put on the side mostly.
yeah.
Is there a reason for the phone versus the email or text?
Confirmation back or something?
There are more states that allow you to speak on the phone or cell phone than there are that allow you to text
Okay.
right now if you happen to be on a long drive.
Okay,
Oh, I see what you mean.
okay.
So how about if we put in there phone call or text? You know, leave it up to the person.
How about phone call and text?
I'm going with the or myself, but tell you what, let's work out that outside. So all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we'll let you work out something on the procedure end. Revised turnover receipts policy. Ed?
Yes. Thank you. Back at the end of June, Vicki had brought forward a policy for turnover receipts for the town. They asked, the board had actually asked her if she would add "and town" to that as she brought it forward, and also think about if there were any other changes that she might recommend. She did send it back. She added "and town," but did not have any other recommended changes. So it's back to you this evening as revised to be approved and adopted as the official policy.
And this is consistent with what the auditors recommended as the procedure?
Yes.
Okay.
get it moving, I move that we accept this general procedure as amended.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
No discussion?
Ed, would you just explain again, I mean, I saw Vicky's email that said, you know, the fourth bullet point, whatever. Can you just clarify again what the change is from what the original?
Sure.
I have it in front of me.
Yeah.
Is it, what section? 4.
Hang on, because I didn't bring her
I think it's this
email.
one.
Here, I have it.
Okay, so section A, fourth bullet point?
I think she added,
4,
In
in
the
the
first
first section, yeah.
Okay.
if I remember that conversation.
The words in town and bullet point 4 for the first section of that. Oh, I see. So for any personal or town
Or
business.
town business, yeah, I said
And,
and town,
yeah.
it was or town.
Right.
In that first line. That was the only change.
Okay, good. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Any other discussion on this? Seeing the changes are so minor? Okay, take a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. That's the 8th? Oh, no problem.
I did too.
Sure.
Okay, new business,
Can I just ask something, John? Excuse
Sure.
me. I just had something that was old business that I wanted to bring up, but it's also something that's noted in the minutes that we're approving. So do you want me to just wait until we do that?
if you don't mind, that we do it all
Sure.
at once?
Sure.
Okay, great, thanks. Okay, new business, number 8 on our agenda. Highway Superintendent's request to have extra week of vacation reinstated as a public safety department head. So,
John, based on what I heard when I walked in here, I think we'd be better off at this point of just simply tabling this and let the town administrator do a little more research.
Well, my understanding is, and I know you're on PQB, that this was approved by PQB.
Yes, it was. But
And why, I just need a reason for why you want to table it then.
I was approached by a couple of, or another town employee saying that if we're doing this for the highway superintendent, we should be doing it for all the department heads in the town.
and that's the way the old policy read.
And the problem is, what the old policy that was handed to me is dated 1997,
Mhm.
and I'm sure there were changes after that. And I remember being part of this discussion 3 years ago,
Mhm.
where we were trying to incorporate this into the new contracts with the police and fire chief,
Mhm.
and then we were gonna do the highway superintendent.
Mhm.
But then other things happened in town, and we lost track of that, and it just never got addressed.
So are you saying that the police and fire don't already have that in their
They
contract?
do.
They do, so he's the only,
But in their contract, it was negotiated in the contract.
okay, so it's, okay. Ed, did you want to say something?
Yeah, the question would be, become, because I was at the PPB meeting, is the highway superintendent has said that he had a week's vacation taken away from him, and at the time, it was only eligible to the 3/24/7 emergency employees, the police chief, the fire chief, and himself. So he did lose a benefit. Now, the question has now arisen is what actually was written into the rules and regulations at that time. Did it just affect those 3 individuals, and has someone found an even older policy that said it was eligible for all department heads? I'd probably like to find out the answer to that definitively, of what was actually in place in 2016 when this change supposedly took place.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But
I can,
also
so I
wanna-
can advise the select board appropriately.
I think that's great, but I also think that when you hire somebody and you hire them under an understanding, and then you change the understanding, that's not exactly fair. So, and I know if this is the only person it's affecting, because he's the only department head that is an emergency personnel. I agree, I think it's fine to go ahead and research it, but I'm just aware of hiring somebody under certain conditions and then taking them away.
I mean, he's not the only department head that's non-emergency. Most department heads are not emergency.
Okay.
It's just police, fire, and highway.
Right, yeah, he's
And-
part of the 24/7 coverage.
Right,
And he did have this when he was
Right.
hired.
right, and then it was taken away. So
He
that's,
does-
I just want to be sensitive to that.
No, I agree. He does not have a contract, right?
No.
That is correct.
Okay, and he can't have one more than a year, is that?
Correct.
Okay, but I still think, and I've been saying this for a long time, is we should have a contract with him, even if it's year to year, as a department head under the same as the fire and the police.
And may I interject?
Sure.
If I was your employee and not a contract employee with a 3-year contract, if you said, you can be our employee, we'd like to do a contract for 1 year, I'd look at you in the eye and say, I'd rather be an employee at will. I have more rights than have a 1-year contract.
Granted, I mean, I'd love to do a 3-year contract, but our understanding is we can't do it. But if we do it a 1-year contract, and obviously there's a lot of goodwill in there, we're able to give him the additional week. So I'm just
Right.
trying to find a way to
There's-
put him on the same level as the others.
There's definitely pluses and minuses,
Yeah.
you're correct.
So maybe you can explore that some more
Certainly.
and get back to us. Does that sound reasonable?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thanks, Ed.
And I do have a question also, maybe this is just related to the 1997 version of this, but we're open, our employees work 4 days a week, other than police, fire, and highway when they're on call. And yet, we're talking about a week in here in terms of vacation time as being 5 days. Is a week 4 days because they work 4 days, or is it 5 days even though they work 4 days?
It's my understanding, back in 1997, there was a 5-day work week here.
That's what I'm getting at. If that was the case then, does that need to be looked at now?
Yeah, I mean, to me, whatever your work week is, that should be.
That'd be
the
your
vacation.
week.
Exactly.
But this very specifically says 5 days.
The old one in 97, yes.
And if that's the one that's prevailing, I'm just raising it as something that you might want to take a look at.
And which is one indication to me that there very possibly is something in between that was in place in
Well, didn't we just
2016.
approve the personnel policies like 3 months ago?
Yeah, we did.
So I don't know, why do we have, that was like showing that it was
This is,
prior to that.
this is
okay.
to pose the argument,
Yeah, I see. I
okay?
see.
It doesn't mean that this is
Yeah. we get
anything
it.
more than posing an argument.
Yep.
And I think it's valid enough that we want to look at it.
I just think for
Barbara,
the sake
you
of
wanna-
2 weeks, give Ed a chance to
Yep,
circle back and
I agree.
Barbara LaFlamme, 20 Cook Road. I was involved in the personnel policies and procedures, revamping of the contracts and the hours and so forth. Back at that time, we totally examined the entire process. We invited all of the employees in, so that they were very much involved in it. And as I remember, and I still have all of that paperwork, that it was based on the number, a week was considered the number of hours that they worked. It wasn't the number of days, it was based on the hours. And the benefits were prorated based on their work week. For example, the highway department had, I think their week was 37 and a half hours, but other people were less than that. But it was all, their vacation and their other benefits were prorated on the number of hours in their regular schedule.
I agree. And the other thing is and I'm looking around the room, and I think that includes all of us, for us that have been out in the workforce for more than just a few years, benefits change over time, and the caveat is, as benefits change, you'll get to new benefits and pros and cons, pluses and minuses, and, so I think 97 really doesn't rule anything.
It was very comprehensive at the time.
Yeah. But that said, we need to look at it to be fair to our employees. Okay, Municipal Modernization Act, denial, suspension, revocation, or non-renewal of local licenses and permits. Ed,
And when I got into the Municipal Modernization Act, which allowed the one member of the Board of Select Board to sign the warrant on behalf of the entire board and report back, it reminded me, and I've actually had someone on the financial team ask about this in the last month. Currently, our bylaws state, which state statute said, is we may deny permits, licenses, renewals of all of local permits if someone is more than 12 months past due in their taxes, whether they be real estate, personal property, excise, what have you. Municipal modernization allows towns and cities to amend those bylaws if they had one, or create a new bylaw if they didn't, to a shorter period of time than over 12 months. So as long as we're talking about the other thing, I just figured I'd put it out here and see if the Select Board wanted to have a discussion at some point in time on whether they might favor a shorter period of time, whether that be 6 months, 3 months, or what have you, and if they do, make a recommendation to the bylaw review to that extent. But currently, to deny someone a license, like I say, they have to be more than 12 months past due in their taxes. And we can amend that if we so wish.
so historically, before we go on to that, have we had to do this to many folks that have been more than 12 months overdue on taxes? Is it a problem in town, I guess I'm asking, that we want to put the timing shorter?
There have been some. Yeah, and like I say, and the question becomes whether it's some or a lot. Are you interested in improving cash flow?
If it's 12 months, that's usually the turnover for licenses and permits anyways. That's why I think that we all settled on that years ago. In fact, I think there's a general statute.
Well, the general statute was 12 months. Now that has changed,
Right.
Yeah.
I'm
because
comfortable.
more and more communities are relying on those fees coming in rather than, or taxes coming in on a regular basis. And
Yeah.
it gives the local community, shall we say, a small bit of a stick.
I mean, to your point, Charlie, the licenses that come annually to be renewed, I could be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 months late when that license renews, and I'd still have another year on top of that. So if we put it, say, at 6 months, you'd probably catch a lot more of these renewals. What do you folks think? I'm a person, if you, go ahead.
I guess the treasurer is the person who has to implement, and what would work best for her office? I would think the shorter the time, the easier it is to track and follow these things once they get protracted, I think.
Correct. It was
becomes
actually
more of a challenge.
It was the treasurer that actually brought it up, because we ended up having a discussion on one particular entity. And it was myself that read the bylaw, because I was actually familiar with it in other communities, because someone was looking for a permit for something. And I told her that, yes, we can withhold, deny, but they actually have to be over 12 months. She didn't realize that at the time, so she's the one that said, "Oh, really?" And we had the conversation about municipal modernization and the possibility of changing that to a shorter period of time. Because actually in this particular case, it was a decent amount of money.
Ed, I was just wondering, in our town, has this been enforced? I think that we have a new treasurer who I think is, putting notices in paper and seems to be enforcing some of the bylaws. Prior to this, Were any licenses, permits withheld for delayed taxes? Even a year out or more?
I believe so, because actually when we had a general conversation with some of the departments involved that actually do licenses or renewals or what have you, they were familiar with the process. However,
Okay.
when I was explaining that the individual or the entity had to be more than 12 months past due, they were surprised at that particular fact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Could you get a recommendation from the finance team as to what period of time they think is appropriate?
I could.
I think one of the good things here, it says permits. So if you've got somebody, a builder, for instance, who's actively building and they're not paying, this will catch the person. And I don't think the idea is to, point a finger, it's just to say, you owe us the money, you gotta pay us. And personally, 6 months gives you enough time, because everybody falls behind at some point on something. Gives you enough time to bring it current,
Yeah, I'm inclined to have it be 6 months,
yeah.
just in terms of cash flow, fiscal year, all of that.
Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I was thinking 6 months makes sense to me. Whether or not you give them a certain period of time after they get the notice to make the payment, is that something else we have to consider? 30 days, 60 days, 90 days beyond the 6-month notice?
Well, it says
Or is
it,
it payable immediately?
sorry, it says it directs the collector to disseminate a delinquency list to the community's permitting or licensing board on a more frequent basis. So as I read that, if it's a building permit we're dealing with,
And they pay them.
the building inspector would get a list, and when that person comes in or company comes in, they're gonna say, sorry, you're on the list, go pay.
Right.
That person will pay, then come back for
Right.
the permit.
But I'm saying, is there any grace period for the payment? That's all I'm asking.
I'm not seeing one in the way this
Okay.
is structured.
No, I see nothing here. Is that something we want to consider?
Yeah, I think if it goes 6 months and they get
6 months is-
they get the warning, personal.
Is this a simple vote of the board?
I believe it is. Simple vote of the board, Ed?
Oh, like I say, I just put it out for discussion to see if you were interested in it. My recommendation would be, if you are, that we make a recommendation to the bylaw review committee and move forward with it through town meeting.
Is there, if there was somebody that was having a particular hardship or whatever, I'm assuming that there are payment plans available and other options if this was a hardship at any particular point in time? Is that true?
The treasurer is authorized to enter into payment plans.
We've got to be careful on that, because we've had a payment plan that's sitting out there now
Yeah.
for a lot of money.
Well, there are legal limits to what the payment plans are supposed to entail. So some of the
Agreed,
ones,
but-
including the one you're going to talk about,
I'm
didn't
just-
really meet the legal limits of the
Yeah,
statute.
exactly, because when a payment plan doesn't pay at least a minimum and go towards the outstanding, that's not helping the town, so,
Plus, there's a minimum you're supposed to actually make on the deposit.
yeah. Okay, so we can take a vote to recommend this go forward.
I'll make a motion to have it be at 6 months versus a year.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks for bringing it up, Ed.
You're welcome. Thanks for listening.
That's our job, Ed. Okay, any other necessary business that can't await the August 21st regular select board meeting? Anybody have anything?
Well, I go along with what Rini said. Would you want comments about items that were contained in the minutes that we're going to be approving, or do you want to have that discussion under this agenda item?
I was just going to go do that under the minutes,
Okay,
as long as they pertain to the
They
minutes that
do.
we're going to approve. Yeah.
okay.
Excuse me. Okay. Personnel change forms, there's none. Licensing, licenses and permits, Kelly Bannister, 1-day beer and wine, Conant Park, August 12th, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. for a party. Ed, everything is in order as I see it, correct?
Everything is in order, correct.
Okay, so we just need a motion to sign that.
So moved.
We have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. You're going to send that around, Ed? Okay, other documents requiring signatures. That's Ed too. You want to do this one first and get it out of the way, the permit? Or do you want to wait? I guess we want to. Okay, state primary warrant, September 4th. You have a warrant for signature? Thank you. Okay, local special election warrant, September 4th.
I'm going to excuse myself on this for the local.
Okay. Kathy, if you could just make that note.
I don't know if I should or shouldn't, we want to go here.
So which one are you excusing yourself for?
The local election,
Okay.
we just signed the state election.
Yep. There you go, this is our special town meeting. Okay, send that back. Okay, purchase and sale agreement, right of first refusal, I believe we signed that already. This has to go to Charlie.
We signed the amendment too, didn't we?
Yes. UST compliance testing services, leak detection, highway, Berman services for $370.
And there's actually two of these. One is for Bierman Services for $370. The other is to Tie and Bond for $4,140 or $345 per month. These are services that we are now required to do to stay in compliance with our underground storage tank for diesel fuel at the highway department. Randall asked me to put them on the agenda and have you sign them. Dollar-wise, I probably normally would have planned to sign them myself and report back to the select board, but I don't know what level at this point in time you feel comfortable with me doing those things, so I figured I'd put them on here, have you sign them, and then you can tell me if you've got a certain level that you're good with me entering or signing contracts for our departments and reporting back to you, and at what point you might want to sign those yourselves.
Okay.
I have a question. The monthly testing is over $4,000?
No, $345 a month. It's the total for the year
Annual.
is
It's the year.
$4,140.
Oh, okay, okay.
Was this in the budget?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So are you passing those around to sign, or? And Ed, if you want to come up with a recommendation to us on signature authority, I think that would be a good way to start it.
My starting point would probably be $10,000. That is what, under that level, good business practice until we get into needing 3 quotes. So that might be my recommendation, but I am open to what the board feels comfortable with.
I mean, especially if something's in the budget.
Hmm.
It seems like it's,
You got to sign both of these. This is for the special town election, and this is for.
do you want a motion for
services
that,
the
or
tanks.
just an agreement?
I'm fine
Okay.
with just telling, a consensus of what you might be comfortable with.
Just to make it clear, I'm not signing the special warrant for the town, okay?
Yes, you're right. You're wrong.
Even when I leave the room, you hand it to me.
They tried twice.
I can see that.
You noticed twice. Thank you.
So I still think you should put something, a proposal to us, Ed, so we have it in writing, so we can review it, and that way it'd be on record rather than just
I will be happy to do that.
casual.
I'm assuming Ed wants us all to sign this too.
Or he can sign, no, I think he's saying he can sign for us. He just wanted to know what level of,
These were,
we're
these were
com-
signing tonight.
Huh?
These were signing
Those
tonight.
two you're signing.
They are
Yeah,
signing. Even the
once we
tie and
get the,
bond?
Yeah,
No?
the tie and bond and the
Okay.
Beerman.
You can probably just sign that, John. Can't you just sign that?
Yeah, but he's got a sticky note, that's what I'm asking. All right, you signed it, you pay it.
We got all of this here, we got one more coming. I think Francine said it, Ed, but maybe in the policy, the draft policy, something about if it's within a departmental budget, the signature authority would be there, and if it's outside.
Yeah, that's my concern. It wasn't in the budget, you know, and I know emergencies come up, but there has to be some consideration about where the money's gonna come from.
You sign the front side.
Certainly.
back side, too.
I did that. Okay.
Okay, now we're getting to minutes to approve. First is June 19th, 2018, item 20 on our list. Everybody had a chance to go over those?
I did.
Yeah, there's, on the second page, midway down, the date for the, Ed being the FRITA representative, should be 6/30/2/19. It says 6/30/2/18, just a typo.
Hmm.
On the June 19th meeting minutes. Okay.
There's just a couple of things, just, I don't know if you want to change it each place, Kathy, or not, but the beginning where it says Marla Hank, it's actually her, spelling of her name is Hanc.
And where is that?
That is at the very beginning where it says, line 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Or it says Mr. Zaharias lives in Westfield. It should be Marla, Hanc.
Okay.
Agency, yeah, yeah.
And Vicky, I believe, spells her name Bicki.
Mhm.
Just for future, you know, there's
Correct.
several times she was referenced in these minutes, just so you know.
You're talking about the town calendar?
Yes.
Okay.
Bicki.
Okay.
Anything else on the 19th?
Yeah, I have a clarification on a comment that I made about the, my attendance, my report on the regional school committee. What I was talking about is that the school is dealing with the same issues that we're seeing in the news that schools in the country are dealing with. So it sounds like I said nothing. I mean, the issues are cyberbullying, you know, drugs, I mean, everything, which to me was a very eye-opening. Yeah, just say that the school is grappling with the same issues as we're all seeing in the news, the national news, about the problems in schools.
Anything else on those minutes?
Well, just open time for the public. Barbara's, the spelling of her name is Laflam.
There's no
There's no
M.
M.
I've been putting that on there, I think, all along. I don't think anyone has ever corrected that before, have they? Or caught it? Sorry about that, Barbara. I'm not concerned. Okay, thank you. There's only one of me.
Do we hear a motion on that?
Some might say, thank God.
Never, Barbara, never. Anything else on the 19th? Okay, I'm going to do these one at a time because there are changes. So can I have a motion to accept the minutes of June 19th, 2018?
As modified.
As modified, yes, sir.
So move.
A second?
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay.
This is a packet, I was looking for I may have to come back to what I wanted to talk about. I'm just looking for it, but I approved it in another copy of this and made note of it, so,
Okay.
anyway.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the July 10th minutes. So just speak up if you have something. Where was that one that we talked about before, Francine? Was it in these minutes?
Yeah, I mean, they're just general questions about following up on items that were discussed at previous meetings, and just to kind of get an update of what's happened.
Actually, I'm sorry, but the June 19th meeting that we just approved, I just saw that's where I wanted to bring up a point that was already discussed. Sorry, I had actually reviewed it on a previous copy of this. So on page 1, 2, quite a ways down, it's under,
What page of it?
they're not numbered. Actually, no, there are
there
4
are-
or 5 on the top.
Oh, okay.
So I just wanted to mention, it said, Mr. Labrie was concerned with wild animal calls that are being billed when the contract says domesticated animals. Janine Domina, town clerk, stated that the town is billed quarterly. There is a policy of dog owners paying when they pick up the dog. However, that has been difficult to enforce, especially on weekends. The state requires that every municipality has an animal control officer. Mr. Kanicki explained that this is the first time the town has entered into this agreement and has alleviated calls to police. However, he does not believe that should include wildlife. A motion was made by Mr. Kanicki to sign the contract as is. There was no second. The motion failed. A motion was moved by Mr. Labrie and seconded by Mr. Kanicki to accept the contract with the caveat that the wording doesn't include wild animals. It was unanimous vote, affirmative vote. Action, Ms. Groden will find out where else wild animals can be brought and get back to the board. So I wanted to just do that. So I checked in with what place that Ed had recommended called Urban Wildlife, and their number is disconnected. Their website has not been updated since 2015. I contacted Chief Goyette, who says that it would be a huge hardship to them to not, he wasn't entirely aware that they can no longer contact this place in Westfield, if it's wild animals versus domesticated animals. He said that there's been a bobcat, there's been a hawk that has needed rehabilitation. He said they're great, they just come pick it up, and then they take care of all the rehab. They brought, I think, the bobcat back to its original location after it had been rehabilitated. He just felt that, I looked into, they have like fox rescue, they have rabbit rescue. And so it would be kind of difficult to just call a different place every time. It's a different kind of animal, if it's an aviary versus whatever. So I'd like to get a little bit more information on exactly what the history of animals being referred to this place is, and maybe investigate the possibility of signing the original contract the way it was, because I think it's a hardship for the public, and I think it's a hardship for the police to not be able to take animals. He said, basically this isn't a city. This is, Southampton's rural, and, there are animals that people, notify the police about, and it would be very difficult to just be on the phone and to try to figure out what to do with it, or to tell, the people that bring things in, well, we're just going to, destroy it or whatever. So I would like to just get a little bit more information and consider going back and just having the original contract the way we had it. I didn't get the impression, it may have been bad timing when we were going through a lot of other painful line items, but I just would like to know what it was charging us and consider doing the original contract.
May I?
Sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
When you do your research,
Mhm.
would you kindly contact Fishery and Wildlife? Because sometimes it's illegal to take and move wild animals.
Yeah,
I mean, even this
Even when they're
service in
injured?
Westfield that has been doing that?
I would just suggest that you contact Fishery and Wildlife and find out, I'm not saying they're doing something wrong,
Okay.
but I do know from past experience that when someone takes a wild animal and displaces it to another spot, if they don't have the proper licenses in that,
I think Chief Goyette had said that when it involved the Bobcat, that they, he said it was great. They came, they just took it, they arranged the rehabilitation, and then they brought it back to the exact same place where it was found.
I understand, but there are certain licenses that used to exist. I don't know if they do now, but they used to exist where if you did anything with wild animals, you had to have certain licenses from the Commonwealth.
Okay.
And then if you got into certain waterfowl and stuff, you had to have licenses from the federal government.
Okay, I'll find out, and I'll follow up with Janine if you want, Ed.
Actually, I've got some information from Janine. I'll get some more, so I'll take
Okay.
care of that.
Okay, do you want me to reach out to the Department of Fisheries and Wildlife?
Sure, if you want.
Okay.
Great,
Do you know
thank you.
about, do you know anything about that, what Charlie's saying?
I know for example, you can't move beavers.
Yeah,
What other forms of wildlife might fall into that type of category, I don't know.
okay.
Fish and Wildlife Headquarters is, believe it or not, 1 Rabbit Hill Road, Westboro, Mass.
Rabbit Hill Road. And it-
Oh, I know where it is, actually. I went to a meeting there recently. It's a beautiful building.
Isn't it?
Oh,
App-
loved it.
Not
Right
named
there.
properly.
Yeah.
I remember when I had,
Beautiful
You
landscape.
should go down to Woodchuck Hollow, you'd enjoy that.
probably, I remember when I had raccoons, possum on my property, I wanted to trap them and relocate them, and I couldn't do it if they were alive. I'd have to put them down, and I said at that point, they probably don't want to be relocated at that point, you know? So I had to get somebody with a license to come over and do that, and
Yeah.
obviously it's not cheap.
No.
So,
Okay, so you'll just give us some more information, and I'll contact Department of Fishery and Wildlife, and then we'll bring it back here.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
thanks, Maureen. Okay, we're looking at July 10th minutes. I know quickly, and whoever brought this up before, Vicky's name spelled wrong again, so if you can just go through these. Did anybody else have anything else? Okay, so if not, can we have a motion to approve the July 10th, 18 minutes?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Move on to the July 24th. Trying to find the one you had, Francine, that had that.
Yeah, I'm going through, I made notes, but I didn't mark the date in which I saw things, so if I could just bring them up generically,
Sure.
other than I'm gonna be shuffling through these papers looking for the item, but one had to do with the conservation agent that we shared with Easthampton and whether or not that 5-hour debriefing took place. I know there's no one here, Marla can't talk, but I guess if I catch her, I'll ask, because that
It
was,
wasn't at the meeting, it didn't come up at the meeting on Monday, but I know that she had a conversation with Mallory, the conservation agent, and gave her some work, I think, to determine who does the open space plans. So she did give
Okay.
them 5 hours worth of work to do.
okay. And the other one, we were gonna look into what was the cost for our to whomever manages our investment, what was the fee, what percentage, or so forth, just to get a sense.
I've got that. I'll bring
Okay.
it back to the next meeting.
Okay, and the other one I asked already was about the Master Plan Implementation Committee. Those were the ones.
Yeah, that was in our minutes of the
Okay, we
24th.
took care of that, yep.
Okay, so,
Did we, one other just remaining item as far as the generator, thinking about the storm out there. We got money from the state and there was a time delay thing. Is there any problem with that with?
Actually, Vicky had an interesting take on that, because even though the contract I signed said it was supposed to be completed by
Yeah.
June 30th, Vicky said, you know what? we've got the money.
Yeah, right.
Why don't we move forward? So I'm going to move forward with it.
Okay,
Yeah, it wasn't like a reimbursable one where we'd have to turn
okay.
the receipts in.
And
We
you have all
actually
the
have the
work-
money in an account, so. I think
And you
we're
have all the
good.
research Jim did, but you still have to put it out to bid, right? Or
Oh,
no?
the bids have come back,
Yeah,
so.
they come back
yeah.
already.
Oh, okay,
I was
good.
just waiting to award
It was a question of whether we could,
because it was 12 to 14 week wait
Oh,
on the,
right.
yeah,
Okay, good,
to receive a generator.
great.
okay, I'm going to pull us all back to the July 24th. Excuse me, can I have a motion to accept?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That was a short one. July 26th, another short
Even
one.
shorter.
I'll make a motion to approve them for discussion.
And I'll second it.
Okay,
There was some question about whether or not one of the PCFs were discussed at this meeting and didn't make it on the list or something. Did you know about that?
It was actually two of them. They were brought up and discussed and voted on under the any other business. You will see it there in the minutes. In the second sentence, new business action discussion, there were two additional PCF which were brought up under this for the administrative assistant to the highway, water, and transfer station, and the administrative assistant to the council on aging. See below.
and Michael Frere.
And they're right here.
Yeah, they're all documented, so
Okay.
that's good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and both of them were signed off by finance last night.
So that takes care of them, they're finalized then. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So did we miss anything before we go to open time for the public?
We did,
Pardon me?
we did.
We missed something?
Yeah, there's just a typo on the 26th. Under the COA Administrative Assistant, it's request to memorialize. It said immortalize. That's all.
That's a pretty good trick.
That's the 26th, no.
Do you just want to cross it out, and write it in, Ed, and
Yeah,
we'll sign
I'm
it?
fine.
We
Do
can
it that
initial-
way with that.
Let me
We're gonna
see.
Missing.
Actually, I should be able to just substitute that page for it. so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so with that change,
Yep.
it's fine.
Okay, so we're going to have open time for the public.
Do a vote on the minutes?
That would be-
We did. Okay, they're all done. But thanks. Please line up. How are you?
Good evening, Robert Floyd, 15 East Street. I'd like to talk about the town meeting. It's a great meeting. We had well over our quorum of 25. We had well over 200. We had well over 200 voters. It was hot. We had to turn the fans off again because people couldn't hear. The fans are very noisy. They're very old. If you look carefully, you can see an engraving, Amelia Earhart's original plain blades. Not true. They're pretty old. Drum roll. Everybody sat there. It was almost 90 minutes. I'd like to thank everyone. It was a lot of work. Certainly Ed assisted quite a bit. A lot of thanks go to Janine Domino, the town clerk, and her team, the checkers. They had to go back and forth and count all the ballots. And the deputy moderator, Carl Keener, he just disappeared at one time. I'm like, where is he? And he was in the back setting up chairs for the people still coming in. So it went well, it worked well. In the meantime, the Attorney General's office on Friday sent out a letter to the town approving our new bylaws from our annual town meeting, Article 3, Article 9, Article 21. Working backwards, Article 21 includes the Conservation Commission and revolving funds. Article 9 increases our quorum, doubles it from 25 to 50, effective immediately. And Article 3, the citizens petition, which, taking away the adjectives and the adverbs, are two strong noun verbs combinations. The formal rules of evidence that apply at formal proceedings, such as court trials, shall not be applied to town meetings. That seems to be no change because we don't apply any formal rules of evidence. And duly recognized speakers shall not be prevented from speaking by the moderator. Every person is allowed to speak twice, 5 minutes each. What they say is different if it's out of the scope. In the letter, and just 3 short paragraphs from the Attorney General's office, pursuant to General Laws, Chapter 39, subsection 15 through 17, the town moderator has broad authority to conduct town meeting. Although General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 15 authorizes towns to adopt bylaws subject to General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 15 for the regulation of the proceedings at town meetings, those regulations cannot interfere with the moderator's authority under General Laws, Chapter 39, subsection 15 to 17, to preside over town meetings. Specifically, General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 17 gives the moderator the authority to end discussion as follows, emphasis added by the Attorney General. No person shall address a town meeting without leave of the moderator, and all persons shall, at the request of the moderator, be silent. If a person, after warning from the moderator, persists in disorderly behavior, the moderator may order him or to withdraw from the meeting. If she does not withdraw, may order constable or any other person to remove him, her, and confine him, her, should be there, in some convenient place until the meeting is adjourned. And the last, the new Section 9 cannot be applied in a manner that interferes with the moderator's authority to preside over and regulate town meeting, including the moderator's authority to request the person to, quote unquote, be silent. See General Laws 39, 15, 17, the town, shall. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah. You go first, too.
I go first, too?
You want to go first?
I don't mind, it's up to you.
Go ahead.
This was the first town meeting that I've actually sat in that a PowerPoint was utilized.
Yes,
Let me,
oh, I'm sorry.
you know,
Sorry.
I have no problem with that. I have a question, though, relative to its use. In the future, when we want to start presenting budgets, especially the budgets of this town, will we be allowed to use a PowerPoint? Because the feeling, we tried a few years ago to do this, and Robert, I have all the respect for you, and don't ever take me wrong, but you felt that that was not mechanically practical at the time. But I've always used PowerPoints in my presentations as I work for the Commonwealth, and I find them to be a valuable tool when you have a large group. My question is, are you going to be willing or open-minded to allow this to be used in the future for things as budgets and that?
I've always been open to it. Years ago, the school had a PowerPoint presentation, and it was going on for 20 minutes. Moderator pulled the plug at 10 minutes. And this moderator and yourself, especially, we had this discussion several years ago about PowerPoint. So those who are positioning the article want a PowerPoint, but those who are against the article have the same right to present a PowerPoint, and you backed off on the concept of PowerPoint at that select board meeting. Also, there was a time when a town administrator wanted every article to be a PowerPoint, and that's when this moderator said no. But certainly, to answer your question specifically, yes.
Okay. My concern is this: when we get into the minutia of our budgets, it's just easier to put the whole thing up on the screen so people have a visual reference. Because when sitting there looking at the audience, all I'm seeing is people doing this, lost in the paper.
But when we do have a PowerPoint and it goes beyond a certain 5 minutes time, people really can't hear in the back. Annually, the back speakers are cooked. People in the back have a hard time hearing, and that's why we cut the fans. So the 2 fans and the 2 speakers in the back of the room, I have no idea who might come forward and come up with new speakers and new fans or cooling equipment, but that's really...
We discussed shades in that building.
Yeah, they haven't been, they've been torn for years, and that sun comes right in and bakes.
But I think with
But yes to the PowerPoint.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
so-
I think with our new ECAT director coming on board, that's something we can look at in order to get better speakers,
Oh,
but
yeah.
also the
Yeah.
integration of the PowerPoint direct feed out to the people at home, so they
Yes.
don't have to be pointed to a screen.
Right, and if I interject, I'd like to thank Ryan Arnold. When we had the lights off to keep it cool, and then we decided to turn them back on, we couldn't find the switch, but Ryan knew where it was. So otherwise, we would have been in the dark all those 90 minutes.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was mine. You know, the enhancements that we need, if we could get them through, Easthampton Media, that would go a long way.
Yeah, and
It's really
please,
inadequate.
James Arbus addressed the issue, and yeah, that's accelerating. And last night, a selection committee was formed for the new executive director, and the plan A is to have that person on board by the end of the year.
Okay. And my other comment on the AG's decision, and whether perceived or actual, I think this was put on there as an article because some people didn't feel they were allowed to have hearsay evidence there. So this, to me, says, yes, you can have hearsay evidence, but it preserves your right to stop the process. So I'm hoping in the general sense, we're all cooperative in that people will be able to do it within their 5-minute limit.
Well, I've invited for years, any handouts, anybody can have a handout, bring it in. It can even be anonymous, according to state law. But someone quoting a newspaper article or a magazine article with their memory, taking it out of context, and newspapers frequently make corrections the next day. So I really invite anyone who believes anything they have that's pertinent, bring it in, drop it off to the town clerk by noon the day before the town meeting. This way everybody has it and they can see the full extent.
But we know that's not going to always happen.
That's right.
That's good. But it's good that we got a ruling on this. So thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Anybody else? Hi, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy Molinas, 298 College Highway. I wanted to give the Board of Selectmen an update on the candidates' night. At the town caucus, there was a huge group that wanted to have a candidates' night, and we were able to come up with a moderator, a place, trying to get a place scheduled, Ryan with ECAT, but unfortunately we can't get all the candidates there. So at this point in time, there's no candidates night.
Have we exhausted all the dates? I mean, we've got the 2 candidates here.
It's just trying to find the room and moderator and
Well, I think we can,
ECAT availability.
I think we can back into that if we can find dates that they're both comfortable.
Well, if you'd like to lead that.
Well, you're both here. Would you mind opening up the discussion? Is there a date that you're both available within the next, before September 4th? So 3 weeks.
You asking me?
First, I'm asking you, yes.
I can do any evening,
Any evening, okay.
except the select board meeting.
Matt, do you want to?
You want me to? Yeah, so Matt Rowland, 16 Mountain Road. So full disclosure, next week I'm having a medical procedure, which is going to kind of ruin my whole next week. The following week, as awfully planned as it sounds, I have vacation, which was scheduled in 2017. So that kind of leaves the 3rd week, and I don't have my calendar with me. So we're looking at the last week of August as potential dates, but I don't have my calendar with me to go through that.
Okay, so today's the 7th.
And
so
some of that's going to be predicated on, obviously, the previous 2 weeks of being out of commission for both physical reasons and then, obviously, vacation after that. So I'm happy to look at it. I'm happy to get back to you.
If you can get back to Tammy?
That's fine, or you can get back to Charlie.
I really shouldn't be in the middle
No,
of this.
Yeah, and
you're more of a neutral, if you can, the 27th, 8th, 9th, 30th, or 31st. Would you mind getting back to Tammy? Yeah, the moderator said, we can change the date, we can change the room. I think it's important to have both you folks there.
Okay, maybe it should be somebody even more neutral, so maybe get back to Ed Gibson.
That's great, too, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Anybody else, public time? Okay.
John, we're gonna bring up this MIMO stuff next meeting.
Yeah, we're going to put it on the agenda for next meeting, since there wasn't any time.
Oh,
Be straight out there.
okay.
And we're going to be here for a while anyways. Okay, so we're going to have executive session. 3 executive sessions. First one's Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 3, discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. Local 98 International Union of Operating Engineers, which is the Highway Department. Second is Mass General Laws 30A 21A3, strategy with respect to litigation in the matter of Regina Shea Sullivan versus Town of Southampton Selectboard, U.S. District Court number 16 CV 12023. Because the chair has declared that discussing the matter in an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the town. And the third is Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A, Number 7, to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant in aid requirements, approval of executive session meetings June 19th, 2018, July 10th, 2018, and July 24th, 2018. And we won't be coming back in open session. So motion?
I move to move into executive session.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? Okay, roll call vote, please.
Tishman,
Roden,
aye.
aye.
Mackey, aye.
Martin, aye. Okay, and we're going to have a 5-minute recess in between. Thanks, everyone, for coming.